Hi guys, welcome. I'm gonna give it a sec. It's 10:30. I know some people are gonna join me live. How you guys doing today? You can let me know when you watch this later in the comments below. Tell me how you're doing. So today's topic, broad view, we're gonna talk about the common misconceptions of shedding body fat. The common misconceptions. Hello, I see some people watching. So, I can't actually see who you are unless you comment, by the way. So if you're here, let me know that you're here. Say hey if you want to. If you're live with me right now. If you're watching this later, just like yesterday, you can drop me a little replay comment in the section below, and I'll be able to see that later. So again, today we're looking at... Hey, Logan says, yo, what up, Logan? Welcome back. This is part of a 3-part video series on efficient ways to shed body fat. We're at our second part. Our first part is still on my page, and you can always check that out. For anybody who's really brand new to this topic in general, you're going to want to watch that one first. I'm just going to say that now because we're going to build off of that a little bit today, and tomorrow we're going to build off the both of these. So, common misconceptions about shedding some body fat. Yes, let's look a little bit more into nutrition. Georgette, hello Georgette. I have some answers for you later on in this little I keep almost calling it a podcast, this video. So let's start by looking at, we're going to look at nutrition, we're going to look at exercise. Let's start by looking at nutrition, okay? Now, very commonly, I know in the past, people have told me, my clients have told me that they've tried all kinds of different diets. Georgette says, hi, hello. Awesome to see you guys here. So, very often we try little different kinds of things. We try in terms of nutrition, keto, low carb, intermittent fasting, whatever the case. As I said yesterday, I'm not here to say anything negative about those. That's not what this is about. But I'm going to give you the fastest, proven, most efficient way in terms of nutrition to start shedding fat and losing weight, assuming that is your goal. And it's going to work both ways. If your goal is to put on muscle or to gain a bit of weight, this method will allow you to actually do that as well. So to each their own goals, and you can actually decide how to implement this yourself. All right. Let's talk about it. It's called calorie expenditure, right? Let's dive into a little bit of the science behind that. Everybody has a BMR, a basal metabolic rate. Hey, Andrea. Andrea's here live with us. Amazing. So, everyone has their BMR, their basal metabolic rate, which means how many calories are you burning in a day at rest. So that amount is not going to include your walking to work. It's not going to include your chores around the house. It's certainly not going to include your exercise, okay? It's not going to include anything. It's basically going to include you staying alive and breathing and being able to chill lying down in your bed. That's your basal metabolic rate, okay? Now, what you want to do with that number is, if you're looking to shed fat, first of all, that's not what you're burning. You're actually burning more than that, like I said, because we're moving around and everything. So you're going to want to find a number a little bit higher than that, usually, depends, that's going to put you at a calorie deficit. You're going to pick a number that you're going to have, that's going to be your goal for your daily intake for food every single day, and that's going to allow you to burn more calories than you're ingesting. Now, how do you find that number? Well, first of all, you can actually Google it, okay? You can Google calorie calculator. I know bodybuilding has one. I'm sure MyFitnessPal has one. If you Google it, you'll be able to find one, and everybody's is different. So it's going to take some metrics from you. It's going to take your weight and your activity level, and it's going to look at all of that together. It's going to give you a number that's going to be a good starting goal for you. And it's going to also, like I said, it's going to depend on a little bit what your goal is. If you're trying to put on muscle, it'll give you a higher number, right? So that's the most proven way that you can go ahead and actually efficiently lose body fat, and it's not cutting out any kinds of food, right? You can eat whatever you want. It's not low carb. It's not, low fat, nothing like this. Do you want to have 2,000 calories a day in Twinkies? Well, that's not the healthiest for you. but it's going to allow you that flexible dieting element so that you can go to your friend's house and eat a piece of cake on their birthday and moving along from there, right? So this is what I actually approach with a lot of my clients. And again, if anybody has questions about any of this at all, you can always write me later, because I use a lot of different apps and things with my clients that makes their life much, much easier when it comes to stuff like this. You don't want to be writing this down on paper, guys. It's not fun. So that, in a nutshell, is a little bit of the most efficient way. And the scientific, okay, there's no arguing with it. It might not be sexy, okay? I know calorie counting is not sexy and it is a lot of work, but that is going to be your most efficient way to reach your goals, nutrition-wise. So let's move along, and we're going to talk a little bit now about training. I get a lot of, what kind of training should I do? Does anybody here have any guesses of what kind of training I might suggest if you're looking to lose fat? And it might not be what you think. I'm not going to sit here in silence for too long anyway, guys. You don't have to worry about that. But so basically, I get a lot of questions. Well, cardio is great. People hear a lot about cardio. It sheds fat, it burns calories. You're right. That's not the answer I'm going to give you today. What I'm actually going to tell you to do, HIIT is a great one. Kaylin said HIIT. HIIT is an excellent one, and I'm actually going to touch specifically more on that one tomorrow. So HIIT is, by the way, guys, high intensity interval training. We're going to talk a little bit more about that tomorrow, because tomorrow is the last of the 3-part series, and we're going to dive into all kinds of things tomorrow. Excellent guess. What I was actually going to say, and I'll tell you why, is muscular endurance training. Walking is excellent also, guys. So walking, I would count that in cardio, and I'm going to explain to you why I would, first off, if you're new, okay, to exercise, do muscular endurance training. First of all, muscular endurance training is very accessible to all. HIIT, by the way, for anyone who was wondering, is high intensity interval training. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit more about that. HIIT can combine a little bit cardio, muscular endurance, everything all in one. But today we're going to talk about muscular endurance training for fat loss. And I know it's possible that I have my cat crawling onto me. Hello, Muffin. So I know that some of you are probably thinking, well, I'm trying to lose weight. Why are you telling me to put on muscle and to put on mass? You gotta go. All right, you can stay. She can stay. She's very distracting. She's really cute, guys, and I have trouble when she's here because I just can't stop staring at her. So let's talk a bit about muscle. All right, when you put on muscle, the more muscle that you have, the more calories you burn at rest. Your basal metabolic rate that we discussed earlier in today's episode is going to go up. So if you have more muscle and you're eating the same amount of calories every day, your body is working harder to get rid of that fat and trying to keep that muscle, and your basal metabolic rate is just higher. So you're going to have more of a deficit, basically, every day. Okay? That's why I would suggest that. It's also, if you're unsure of where to start, it's kind of a very good place to start slowly, and then to ramp up your training from there, however you wish. Now, if you have all the time in the world, or I shouldn't say all the time in the world, if you have time to do both, to do cardio, to do muscular endurance, perhaps throw in some HIIT, absolutely you can. You can build a program that has all of that, and you're going to get the benefits from all of it. Walking, by the way, or cardio specifically, has a ton of other great benefits for you other than just weight loss, okay? I do a ton of cardio myself, for those who know me, so you know I have nothing against it. Today, specifically for fat loss, we're talking about muscular endurance, and that's why you would want to put on muscle, okay? Now, if anyone's concerned about bulking, especially my women in the group are in general more concerned with that, okay? I'm going to tell you, that's not something you have to worry about. I know you've probably even heard it before at this point because it's been disproven again and again. Unless you are doing insane amounts of training and eating not in a deficit, okay, because you can't put on bulk if you're eating in a deficit, first of all. So you'd have to be eating more than you're spending and working out insane amounts. You are not going to bulk. Say that with me, guys. You're not going to bulk. All right. So that's a little bit about the type of training that I would first implement. So you guys are doing great. Now there's one more little topic that I want to cover for today. Like I said, tomorrow we're going to dive in even a little bit deeper, and Kaylin, we are going to talk about specifically HIIT, and the reason for that is because again, this is about efficiently losing fat, which means not spending too much time on it, right? Brooke is live. Hey, Brooke! So, because we're looking at efficiency, we are going to talk a little bit more about HIIT tomorrow. Now, the other items that I want to address that we talked a little bit about yesterday was other items you want to have in check, right? Stress, sleep, water intake, fiber. Fiber we're going to talk about more tomorrow as well. All right. Like I said yesterday, these are not the first go-tos, but you do want to have them in check. And again, actually in yesterday's video, I had quite a few people tell me afterwards, well, I like to start with sleep, and I like to start making sure that my sleep is in check first, and then I like to get into that other stuff because it sets me up, it makes me feel good to have a good sleep pattern, and it sets me up for success. If it does, guys, then that's brilliant. Like I said in yesterday's episode, you want to start with what's going to be the easiest goal for you, because that's going to set you up for long-term success. We're not going to implement all these habits all at once. You have to start slow, you have to make sure everything's in check, and that's how you're going to build long-term life habits that are going to be successful throughout, okay? So you can absolutely start with sleep. What I want to reiterate from yesterday before we go further is you can have someone whose stress is really in check and whose sleep is great and who has a lot of water, and like I said, their nutrition is not great and they're not exercising, and if that's the case, you're not going to see results. You can't have those other elements in check and not have your nutrition and exercise in check and expect to see results. Taylor says hello. Hello, Taylor. Welcome. So these are things that I want to really make sure that we're all in the right mindset for, okay? So I want you to walk away today with these ideas specifically about things that you can implement, right? Calories, a little bit of a better understanding of them, a little bit of a better understanding of where to start if you're not already in your exercise program, all right? So that's what we're going to start with, guys. Now, I got a question from Georgette, my main lady, yesterday, and she said, and I know her personally, beautiful, wonderful lady who's very, very lean, and she told me yesterday she would like to talk, hey Sylvie, hey Laura, she would like to talk a little bit about visceral fat, which, if you don't know what it is, please go back to yesterday's video and just check it out, and then you're going to have an amazing understanding of it, okay? Now, visceral fat, is there a way to target that? The short answer is, I should say, yes, there are ways to target that. The main ways are not that different, okay, from your subcutaneous fat. Like I kind of mentioned yesterday, and I'm going to get more into this, but if your nutrition is in check, your diet is in check, and you are on a successful weight loss path, visceral fat, if you have more of it, is usually the first to actually go. Usually you're going to decrease that before you decrease your subcutaneous fat, so that's an excellent place to start. With that said, first of all, sometimes if you have a wider waist and are leaner everywhere else, I do want to mention this, visceral fat is not always the culprit, okay? So it does depend a little bit on the person. But with that said, visceral fat has more of a tendency to gather than subcutaneous fat if your stress levels are high and if your hormones are a little bit out of balance because of that, okay? So that's what I want to talk about a little bit here. Like I said, stress is really a secondary thing that you would look at for the general public. But if you know that visceral fat is your concern and you are really lean and you're having a lot of trouble with it, you're going to want to look at your stress levels, and you're going to want to create some habits specifically around stress if you don't already have them, and see if that's going to work for you. So it could be, looking at your breathing patterns, it could be meditation. You do want to make sure you have enough fiber and probiotics and everything in your diet as well, okay? So that is part of it. And that will naturally sort of start to balance out your hormones as well for that specifically. So those are going to be, I have my notes here, that's why I'm looking over here, guys. So those are going to be things that you want to look at for visceral fat specifically, and belly fat, if that's what you want to target, and you feel like you're a little bit wider in the waist and you're not sure why, and you're leaner everywhere else, maybe that's going to be where you want to look a little bit, okay? So, Laura, I saw you commented, and I saw it was long, and I was just talking. I don't even think I could see the whole thing here, so I'm going to address your comment a little bit later because it's showing me see more. I can't see more. So I will come back to you with your comment. I see BMR in there, and I'm very excited. All right. And just like yesterday, guys, if you've ever tried any kind of diet or anything like that, if you've ever been recommended something, if you tried a diet that did work, didn't work, please let me know. Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear what's worked for you, what's not worked for you. Even if you tried calorie counting and you found certain stresses there, right? Because it's not the easiest. I'm gonna be upfront about that. I would love to know. So let me know. And then please, guys, so in tomorrow's video, what we're actually going to be covering is diving a little more deep into some of these. Yet again, you have a really good base now for what you may want to start with, okay? And tomorrow is going to be I'm excited about it. It's going to be a fun episode, and it's our final part 3 of 3. And we're going to talk a little bit about little tips and tricks and things that you should know pre-workout and post-workout tips, things like this, as well as a little bit on the nutritional side, extra steps that you can take to really fast track your results now that you have a really good base. So that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. It's going to be again at 10:30 a.m. So I hope you guys can join me there, and I will see you there, guys. Have a wonderful day. Speak to you soon, and ta-ta for now.